Jason, how are you?
I'm doing well, Fabio. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you, my friend. Not long ago, we opened your first jars in Fort Worth, and now we're here talking about the overall company, and we're doing this together. So now, what I like to do is after a few months, after a little bit of operational kind of practice for all our franchisee, I love to take a half an hour to get back to them, ask a bunch of questions, see how everything is working, see how everything played out. Question, concern, comment. I like to get them all so we can build a better system going forward. So if you don't mind, I love to record these and ask you a few questions about the experience, about your experience, and the overall JARS partnership. Shall we do it?
Sounds great to me. Let's go.
All right. First of all, I know you well, but not everybody does. So if you can give me a little bit like the 3 minutes recap on your background and what led you to decided to join the JAR franchise system.
I, I'm not sure if I'm interesting enough to give a full 3 minutes, but I'll I'll do as much as I can. Uh,
Give me 2.5 minutes.
okay. So joining the franchise system makes my wife very happy. So that's probably the shortest version of the of why we did it. But I think we've talked about before. Our family moved every 2 years for 20 to 25 years in a different business in the oil industry, and it's hard on the family. So we have children almost the same age. I think ours 6 and 8.
Yeah.
Yep. And so my girls are 6 and 8. So the dad and both my wife's and my parent and my mom live here in Fort Worth in the DFW area. So we had to make a decision about that. And so I think our priority was our family. And so we said goodbye to the oil field and started looking for franchises. And we found a couple. So my wife and I have different interests. So we were actually working on two. Hers is great food, great people. She's always been that's always been her. My wife is Indian. Food's a huge part of her culture, as in many cultures, a huge priority for her. It's what she does with her spare time. And she saw this franchise through FranSmart, our partners and your partners. And she met another Indian lady named Jolly Kabrani, who's representative for Smith. And they hit it off. And long story short, we came out to meet you in Chicago, and my wife fell in love with the brand.
Very nice. And by the way, oil industry. You guys have seen some up and down in the last decade.
Yeah, it's.
The,
I
the
think
industry, right?
I may have left at the right time. It's been the deepest. We're coming out of it
Yeah,
now.
you definitely did, and you dodge a great bullet with COVID for the food business too. By the way, so
Yeah,
you got your timing, man, is immaculate. I love it.
let's.
I love it. So, but getting into the actual specific of the brand, right? You're a seasoned businessman. You've done great success for you and your family. Of course, you made a legacy for you and your family in the executive world, in the oil and gas business. What did you see specific about jars, the business model, or it's the way he's set up, whatever that was? Give me some of the specific that you liked and you said, you know what, regardless of the passion that my wife has for food, because of course you got to have passion about the industry getting in, and regardless of maybe, yeah, Fabio track record of successes in hospitality, you're a businessman. So let's talk specific business, couple of points that sold you on actually going into the jars business as a franchisee.
Yeah. So there are several. To be honest, it's not. You're right. It's not all just about personality and your track record, but there is an element of you in there. So we came to meet you in Chicago at U.S. Foods, which I'll talk about in a moment, because that's part of our decision as well. How well oiled the supply chain is. But part of my career was identifying or being able to recognize great entrepreneurs, and I immediately recognized that you had that skill. Just to be frank about that, I just in 2 hours in Chicago, spending with you, I thought this guy is going to make this brand successful, whatever it takes. So that was
That
part of it. I got to be
that
honest.
whatever it takes, I do highlight that because I will do whatever it takes to make you and all the franchisees successful. So, talking about great entrepreneurship, right? You're one. I've achieved a little bit of success, of course, in the food business. Um, is there? How did you feel about the involvement, the support that you got from Jars Corporate, the support that you got from me, from our executive, all the people that you have interacted with so far? Did we do a decent job at it?
I would say it's been more than decent. I want to answer the rest of your question about what else we recognize in the brand, and I'll touch on that as well. So several things. One is the well-oiled supply chain. I mean, it was immediate apparent just being at U.S. Foods that there was going to be cost benefits to be able to leverage the relationship you had with U.S. Foods. And we see that with our paper suppliers. We see that with our sign suppliers. So across the board, the fact that you guys have a successful company at the scale it's at made it more likely this would be successful. So that was part of our decision. It seemed obvious to me from the very beginning that you guys were going to have technology at the core of your business. So technology is not its own industry anymore. Basically, any successful new business is built around some type of technology, software technology. And I think you guys recognize that from day one. And so we see that. I mean, our opening was more or less seamless. I mean, the technology worked right off the bat. I mean, everything's integrated into one platform. You guys happy to say you guys use Square. And I think from a point of sale to payroll to scheduling to keeping track of royalties and any of our responsibilities, all that's nicely in one place. So the U.S. Foods app makes it very easy to resupply our restaurant. So I mean, by the time you left after being here for a week, I think our staff hasn't had a hiccup in the restaurant. So that's been
That's that's actually great. You answer a lot of question I had in a very quick way with this answer, but even to touch a little bit more on the actual aspect of what makes jars, because I tell everybody the same things, right? There is a lot of great concepts out there. Because there is a lot of very successful business model proven with other chain and other opportunity. But what makes jars different is the actually ease of deployment, ease of use, technically, for the business model, and the ability for folks like you not to have to sink millions and millions of dollars worth of your own hard-earned money into try a new venture, right?
right. And so I mean, it's an asset light business model. So I probably won't get into all the numbers here, but I mean, we were able to build out our restaurant at the cost it's actually below the cost that we modeled. And we're working on our second one, as you know. So we'll see you in
Yeah,
about 3 or 4 weeks
we'll
from today. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
we'll see you
be
soon.
we'll be doing this again. And so that restaurant's going to be even less to build out because it's a
Yeah,
converted bakery. It's a second gen. So that's no permits, no formal construction drawings required. We're able just to modify what they had and add the jars equipment. So that asset light model worked. It is a labor light model. We want to treat our employees well because we don't need many. I think we're able to pay them good and fair wages, and we haven't we
yeah.
haven't actually haven't had a single person leave the company yet after 2 months of opening, which is probably somewhat rare in the quick service.
Yeah, it's very rare for the food business. And by the way, I think you nail it. When I built the jars model, I was looking for a solution to a global problem in the industry, right? First of all, most franchisee require high cost of deployment. You want to, you also yourself have experience with different franchisee, and the cost can get pretty high, and the ability of jars to keep the cost model contained and really give you the chance to open a store with, you know, $200,000-300,000 under some circumstances is very valuable. And on top of that, like you said, because you're not spending so much money up front to get the business going, there is no kitchen. There is a kitchen, but it's not a production kitchen. It's an assembly kitchen. There is no cumbersome equipment. The labor doesn't require high level of skills. So you avoid those positions in the industry that cost you a lot of money. It's easy to operate with a low labor model. You know, sometimes if you are organized as a franchisee, you could run a store with a person in it. And assuming you have to do no prep, that's all you need. And as well, it fits in tighter space than most business models. So I agree with you that there is a lot of savings up front, but also there is a lot of possible saving going forward because, you know, I give the example to everybody that, you know, you run a restaurant, which I have many of those. On a slow day, you still have 30 people on payroll, right? You have high rents. You have things that with jars don't happen. So assuming that this video is going to be watched by a bunch of people that want to learn about jars, what advice would you give to someone that is considering jars um, as a long-term opportunity based on your experience? What would you tell them?
I would say meet the team first. I didn't answer your previous question on that, but you guys do have a strong team. So four senior partners have been in the business a long time. I mean, the good thing about jars is it's still a new enough brand that I think I'd imagine there's not going to be any franchisee who comes on board at this point who doesn't spend some time with you personally, at least a few phone calls. And so, I mean, that would be my first piece of advice: is understand who the roles are. So you've got. I want to acknowledge your team. So you have a chief culinary officer who's been with you for, I think, since you came to America, huh? And
20.
knows the
Yeah, you're right, actually. That make me think of it. Most of my jars partner and executive team has been with me in excess of 15 years. So
yeah
we built the whole company with them, and now we're building another one. Yes,
yeah
absolutely.
and
So we talk about technology, right? We talk about innovation. We talk about staying up, catch up, and kind of staying current with technology and everything. And technology is a big component of jars, from the POS system to the online to the metrics to the review system. How would you how much did you like and how easy we made understand jars from a technology standpoint?
yeah, I mean, I would say how well all of that would work was a big concern of mine going in, because with a new brand, deploying new technology can be a risk. I mean, whole companies get dragged down by deploying brand new tech stacks, even big ones. And I was pleasantly surprised. Let's put it that way. I mean, I think so. Your COO came down, your ops manager Chris Carlton, and I think within a day or so had everything set up. And I don't think we've had a major hiccup with that system yet. So jars, DoorDash, whether it be Uber Eats, as I mentioned before, payroll and scheduling, all that's. We have a seasoned ops manager on our side as well, so that helps. I mean, I would advise anybody to make sure you've got someone who's worked with those type of platforms before. But having somebody like that on board made it work pretty much out of the box.
So, Jason, we already done an opening together. What about to do the second one?
That's right.
I know that your wonderful wife Tejal is more on the operational side. You're more on the corporate kind of side. But if I was ask you or Tejal, what's your most memorable opening moment that you remember that you said something like, okay, you know, this is gonna work. I like this. Was it the people? Was the media that you guys got? Was the people craving the flavor profile? What was it? Give me some highlight for the folks that have not been there on why over that first week and you said, you know what, this is good.
That was a very nice way to say that my wife gets to tell me everything I need to do as it comes to jars.
It's everybody, by the way. Yeah, you're not alone in this, my friend.
But it works well for us. I'm not too worried about it. And so I think you'll remember we had a line out the door all weekend. I think we had 1,100 people come through the restaurant a day.
Yeah.
I think for 3 straight days, and so that'll always be the memorable piece. I mean, there was it was clear the community. I mean, we're embedded in a family community. We're near a university that people love, at TCU University, and the folks came out to support the new brand in the neighborhood. So that'll be the most memorable part.
It was nice. And I know the answer to the question I'm about to ask, but I got to ask anyway. You and I are very similar folks. We work hard, we work long hour, we took a lot of chances, but at the end of the day, it comes down to family. So, how does jars and this relationship plays? What role does it play into your next 50, 100-year legacy?
Yikes, that's a long time. So we we did dream of building a multi generational family business. I mean, that was part of the goal. And so our families are here. My daughters are here. Actually, my mom is living in the house with us right now. She's having some minor health issues. It'll all be fine. But I mean, the
Same.
reason she's here with us every day. So that was the dream. And so if we can get these franchises, these businesses going, I would add that my daughters love it. They don't just love the dessert, which they do. One of them I got to kind of shoo away from them a little bit. She might love them. She might love them
I
too
love
much,
him too much.
but they're already involved. I mean, they take pride with their. I mean, they share with their friends all the time, but they're part of something. And so
I love it.
that was important to us. I know it was important to you too. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about
I would love,
why?
dude. I would love to. Please, please, please.
I guess you mentioned COVID before. So tell me how Jars was born out of COVID, and to what extent it was, and how that shaped this brand.
Yeah. So I spent my entire business life, at least the majority of it, trying to anticipate instead of react. Because when you're reacting, you're already late for the solution. And when you're anticipating, usually the bow soften a little bit, right? And I didn't see COVID coming. I had no clue. I don't know. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know what were the consequences of it, especially for the business, right? Personally, I'm a healthy military age man, so I was more concerned on the business side and the ability to provide for everybody without a business than I was from a personal health concern. But the model that I used to run, the business of restaurants, was flawed for many reasons, and COVID exposed them all: the scarcity of labor, the scarcity of supply chain, the high cost of maintenance. God forbid you're shut down for a month. We were shut down for a year and a half, right? So I saw how fragile was the restaurant ecosystem, and I had to come up with an idea. Because restaurant business, Jason, is all I know, right? You probably, if you didn't have jars, you could get a cushy job at a corporate with your brain and your expertise. I can't. Business of restaurant, it's all I know. So I had to find solution in the business, and the solution was jars, a business that required very little capital to initiate it and maintain it, a business that required no cooking, minimal if any at all, and because of that, it doesn't require any expertise. It's technology driven, so you don't need to learn an old way of handling business, because all you gotta do is to know what button to press, and the technology does itself. Um, I had a complete lack of support through COVID with some of the business partner we had that just disappeared. So now I created a company that is solid and well established before we had our first franchise on board. That's why, although challenges, of course, always present because it's a new concept for everybody, even for us, it's a concept that has been built by people that have built this type of concept for a long time. Um, Cost of build out, very little. So for me, I created jars with in the back of my head, what if something crazy like COVID happened again? What if I can't find labor? What if all of a sudden supply chain is disrupted? We are in a very challenging business as is. So for jars, I took the top 20 opportunity we had for the business to get screwed up, and I marked it off once by once. Now, of course, success is not guaranteed all the time, and even with jars there are challenges, but those challenges are much much easier to tackle and overcome than your traditional QSR franchise in the food business or your traditional restaurant. I tell everybody, Jason, you get me one QSR business model, I don't care who they are, established or upcoming, that has an easier way to go about it, and it's easier than jars to understand and operate, and not drop jars and I'm going to become a franchisee of the other one, because that concept doesn't exist. There is a lot of concepts that are more successful than jars yet, but none of them is easier to operate and get into it from a franchisee perspective. And that I am sure.
Yeah, I would say we're seeing that on our side as well. So I mean, it's hard to imagine it being much easier. So
Yeah.
Jars is I think the only business that you own with your name on the door. Why is that?
You
What's
know,
the story?
it's funny because my company own and operate many, many restaurants all over the United States, right? But although important because that's what pays for, that's paid for my family for a very long time. I'm in the legacy. I'm in the legacy building, just like you, right? All I can hope is to provide for so many people that allows me to stay eventually home a little bit more and enjoy my family and son a little bit more. And to do that, I gotta build a legacy in something that is sustainable and it's easy to operate. And although I'll never be away from restaurant business, because you can take me out of restaurant business and put me in QSR, but you can't take restaurant business out of my heart. Jars is my ticket to a legacy building, just like you said, right? I cannot think of an easier path. I cannot think of a quieter path, to be honest with you, because the things that can go wrong with jars are minimal and they're very easy to fix compared to everything that can go wrong with restaurant business. But the legacy and the ability to provide for my family in an easier way is why jars has my name all over. And by the way, my presence and my dedication to the brand is much much higher than I normally would give to any given restaurant, right? Because again, name is on the door and it's legacy. By the way, I'm not saying that we're neglecting the other business, because we're not. We're honest business people and we have a great company and we're still running it. But there's a lot of people that can run a restaurant. There
Yeah.
is not many people that can run something with my name on the door. So the best and greatest are on the jar side for what concern this brand.
So I think some of the folks who see this discussion may be interested in becoming Jars franchisees. So who are you looking for? What type of candidates make a great Jars franchisee, and what would you
Well,
tell
look,
them to do?
while jars is for everybody, the franchisee side has some requirement, right? And there is two kinds of folks, and I'm actually excited you ask this question, because you are one of the two examples that I love to be in business with. You know, in the industry there are veterans, right? Which are people, for example, that right now, jars, look at our United Kingdom expansion, right? We have the largest Subway franchisee in Europe, um, teaming up with us as a master franchisee for Jars in the United Kingdom. Now they came to Jars in Chicago. They saw the business model. Within in half an hour, the conversation went from them buying a territory to them be a master franchisee for the whole continent, for the whole nation, right? Um, and that's because of the ease of use and because of that. So those are Jars is perfect for the veterans of the industry that have experience with franchise but don't want the headache of the food business. But also Jars is perfect for business folks like you that although don't have any experience whatsoever, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the food business aside from be patrons in restaurants because you love to go out for dinner, you never been on the operational side because we do make it so easy that if you have availability of funding required to be a franchisee, you can easily become one because the concept doesn't take very much to learn. It doesn't take very much to understand. Now, in your case, and you've done great with that, we suggest you to also hire a couple of people in your team that are veteran in the industry, and you have a perfect example with Murph, with your director of operation. But also, if you look at the perfect example with your wife, right? I remember when you guys came to visit me the first time, you said, I've never, this is not my thing. I can't cook, can't do much about it in the kitchen. That's my wife. And within in 30 minutes, you made a jar with me and it was just as good as mine. And you were like, okay, fine. I guess I probably wasn't still do it, but I can do it, right? And that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for educated businessmen like you that understand the business component of jar, because then we can teach anyone how to operate it. And we're looking for people that already know how to operate in the business, that might already have a bunch of franchisee with someone else, and finally they're trying to get an easier way to the to that legacy play, because food industry is very challenging, and we're very proud to say that we took the majority, not all of it, the majority of those challenges out. And now, if you have been a franchisee for some of the other brands out there, you can finally have a good night of rest once you get into the jar business.
So if someone meets those requirements or guidelines that you laid out, what's the best way for them to get in touch with someone at
Well,
Jars and ask about
getting in touch
that?
with me, it's easy. I'm a phone call away. Text message, don't email me. Emails are bad for me. But no, but joke aside, the easiest way is to go to jarsbyfabioviviani.com and click on the franchisee tab. You will fill up a quick and easy questionnaire, and then you will be put in touch with one of our sales partners at Friendsmart, that can provide all the information that you might need or deem useful to evaluate the opportunity. And then shortly after that, you got to meet me, because I'm not doing any business with somebody that I don't like. So I am very involved. I will meet every franchisee. I will be to every opening within the limit, of course, of scheduling and possibility, but I'm planning to be there as much as I can possibly be personally, because it's important. I think one thing is having a guy that sells a brand, and another one is having a guy that works with you on it after he sold it, right? And I'm the latter. I like to be very hands-on. I like to provide feedback. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy, because, like I told you day one, Jason, I although I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be very successful together, I can never guarantee success, because it's a business, and business sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But what I can guarantee you is that I will always fight to preserve your investment and to make sure that, although we disagree at time, you always make the best business decision. So that's a commitment that I have with everybody. Um, and I think so far you guys have done great, and the expansion that you guys have and the plan that you have for Texas is phenomenal. You decided to involve your family and immediate friends from the get go, and that was bold and it was fantastic at the same time. I was like, I mean, that's he's going for it. And sometime you have to do it, right? Because they're always saying to make sure you conquer the island, you have to burn the boats, right? So, so you really burn the boats. You went 2 feet in, dive in, and that's amazing. That's the best I can ask. You're really committed to it.
Yeah, we feel really good about our decision so far. 2 months in, there's not much we would change.
Good.
Uh,
So, do you have any other question for me, Jason?
I think that probably wraps it up, Fabio. I really appreciate your time and the conversation today.
I appreciate it, my friend. Anytime you need me, I'm available, and I will see you in Texas in a month or so for another successful opening.
Yeah, hopefully another 1,100 people a day through the door. I'll take it all day, every day.
Let's let's work on that.